Well, it's been by an American band called R.E.M. They were at the Marquee a couple of weeks ago, and they were terrific. And to find out more, I talked to their guitarist. His name is Peter Buck.
We started 4 years ago. As a matter of fact, April 5th was our 4th anniversary, 1980, in a town in Georgia named Athens, Georgia. It's a little slow college town, real typically southern. If you've ever seen movies about the South, it's just like that. To Kill a Mockingbird or any of those towns. Real slow. You know, there's at least the streets are paved. At the time in Athens, there were quite a few bands that were starting out that were pretty interesting. Most of them aren't very well known over here. I guess the B-52s are the most well known. But we started out with other bands like Pylon, who were over here, Method Actors, Love Tractor. Various other bands from the area that just kind of started out of nowhere. And that was one of the things that I guess people did in Athens at the time. There was just the kind of feeling that, well, anyone can do it, you know, and there's no reason to start a band that sounds like everybody else's band. So, you know, try and do what you want to do rather than sounding like the hits of the day or playing top 40 music. And we just started playing, started touring like immediately after we formed throughout the South.
What did you find you had in common, the four of you?
I don't know. I think a mutual contempt for most music. You know, I mean, we're great fans of music and really love music, but by and large, we knew that there was just a whole lot about music that was really kind of ridiculous and self-important and kind of stupid that we didn't really want to get involved in. We just wanted to play for the fun of playing. And obviously, when we started, since none of us really had any you know, previous experience, we were pretty horrible. But we always thought that we knew what was good, and that good taste is probably 90% of the battle in rock and roll. Not good taste like, you know, classical good taste, but just knowing what's garbage and what's pretentious and what's not. So we just kind of tried to avoid all, you know, the rock and roll pitfalls, to just do something that was close to our hearts as opposed to, you know, close to the charts.
It's seeing bands like R.E.M. and then last week Jason and the Scorchers and then recently the Blasters and Los Lobos, and it makes you realize that there is actually something happening in America that is an antidote to this corporate rock journey on Styx and Motley Crue and all that stuff.
Yeah, stuff is a nice word for it. There is really a great scene in America, but it's pretty much groups that are unknown. You know, Jason that we mentioned and the Scorchers are friends of ours from Nashville, and we've known each other for years, and neither of us had contracts. We toured all over America, you know, kind of word of mouth. We each put out independent records that did reasonably well. But you really can't get on the radio. The radio's just got a stranglehold. And really it's in their interest, they think, to keep promoting, you know, the same 8 bands so that you hear Journey every day and a half. You know, it's like, why Journey? I mean, I can't understand why they're famous. And lots of bands that are really bland because they offend the least amount of people. There are tons of great American groups. You know, there are probably 100 records that came out last year from America that were just really exciting. And, of course, they probably sold 2,000 copies each and, you know, disappeared. But some of the bands are kind of making it. You know, we're doing okay. The Scorchers are doing all right. A group called Let's Active. Mitch Easter, our record producer, is in that band. Lots of other good bands in America that are just kind of coming to the surface.
Do you think it will break through, or is there a conspiracy?
Well, I think putting in conspiracy would be a little bit heavy. Really, when you think about it, the people who buy the Journey records and the Styx records, all that stuff, are, you know, 13 to 14-year-old kids. And in America, they're just not quite as hip to, you know, new things as they are over here. Whereas, you know, 13-year-old kids over here are actually listening to some good stuff. In America, basically, they just kind of buy garbage, and they always have, unless they accidentally buy, like, Beatles records, because the Beatles were cool. You know. Now, so it's kind of like, I doubt 13-year-old kids are going to buy even us, let alone buy Black Flag or, you know, Flipper or all the other great American bands. So I don't think it's really conspiracy. It's just a smaller market. Hopefully with the help of college radio, which is non-commercial and is fairly powerful in America, and the help of the fanzines and the touring circuit that there is, that the audience is able, the small audience that there is able to find the bands that are a little bit less popular. So that bands now, as opposed to 4 years ago, can actually make a living putting out really weird records and being a strange band. You know, that it's just that they're not going to ever get rich, but there's a market for it somewhere.
And the critics like it has proved, not that I'm saying the record's weird, but the album you made last year, I mean, all the critics went bananas over it and won all these polls and all the rest of it. And that can happen sometimes with bands, and that can really screw them up for going into the second one. It makes them very self-conscious about what are we going to do to follow this up? Did that worry you at all?
No, we've always been kind of naively self-confident in that, you know, we knew we couldn't really do anything, but we figured we could try anything we wanted to. So we just kind of, the only worry we even had, and it wasn't much of one, was just to write the songs, because we knew we weren't going to, get worse as guitar players or singers. In my case, that isn't possible. I'm about the world's worst guitar player. So we just, sat down and wrote a bunch of songs, about 15 songs, and when we went in to do the record, we were just real confident. We knew we had the material, we knew we had the ideas, and what we wanted to do was just a matter of going in and mashing it out. We did the album in like 12 days, 11 days. And, there's still like an album's worth of outtakes sitting around too, so. It was just a real confident period. We felt really up. All the criticism had done nothing but make us feel that, okay, now is the time to really capitalize on it, to show everyone that, we're a good band and we're not just, one idea and a cute haircut.
Tell me about the influences here, because I will mention, as I'm sure everybody will mention, that there's a lot of Graham Parsons in here. There's a lot of the country birds feeling, not only in the guitar, but in the harmonies as well.
Well, that's great. See, everyone mentions the Byrds, but they think like, 8 Miles High and all that stuff, which none of us even listened to. I mean, I was 4 years old, I think, when 8 Miles High came out, so it wasn't much of an influence on me in my cradle. But Graham Parsons is one of my all-time favorites. Just absolutely think Graham Parsons is brilliant. And the only Byrds album I own is Sweetheart of the Rodeo, which, Graham Parsons is on. That kind of stuff is real important to us. Country music is like white soul music, especially where we're from. Even if you want to ignore it, you can't. Country music is everywhere. It's in every bar that I go to. It's in the car if I'm driving from city to city. My father listens to it in the radio at his house. So you really grow up with it. And even if you don't like it, which I didn't for quite a while, it's a real pervasive thing. And it seems to me that the older you get, the more... If you can cut away and ignore the garbage, which there's quite a bit of it now on the radio, the good country really is soul music. And it's something that we really feel strongly about, even though, none of us are big experts on country and western. But it's just something that you grow up with and feel, just like we grew up with Motown, too, when I was a kid. I've heard that all my life, too. It's something that you grew up with that's very personal and from the heart. As opposed to so much of the music that you hear on the radio seems like it was made with a formula. Some guy in an office with a computer punched out some digits and you get a new Styx record. I guess I shouldn't say that on the radio. How about Journey?
Tell me about you. Mike writes the lyrics. You don't print the lyrics with your albums. Most of them seem very abstract.
Yeah.
Do you understand what he's going on about?
Oh, sure, yeah. We edit him sometimes and put in phrases. I'll give him a title. We discuss what the songs are about, how to fit the music to the lyrics and vice versa. There are just a million ways to tell a story, and I sometimes kind of resent hearing a song where, the vocalist is 8 miles out front. You can hear every word, and all the words sound like they were taken from the last song's, top 40, and it's just, most songs are interchangeable lyrically. It's kind of bad because if this was 1963, you could write it and mean it, but you can't write, Baby, I Love You anymore because it just, you've heard it so many times you turn it off. So you try to kind of short-circuit the rational or the logical lyric style to get at something more from the heart, something that hasn't been poisoned by repeated overuse. Well, the same with, the song structures. If you write a song that sounds just like every song that's ever written, no matter how great it is, Witness the Raspberries, who I really like, people are just going to go, oh, well, it sounds old, The idea is to try to twist the reality that everyone's used to into something that's more personal and more real to you. Sometimes if we're too obscure, I'll admit that, and we're trying to change that. I think the new album is quite a bit less obscure or abstract than the last one. And we seem to be getting a bit clearer, but rather than run the risk of sounding like every other person in the world and having it be just a bunch of real easy cliches, we'd rather try to write something that's just a bit closer to the heart. And if you have to work a little bit harder to get it, so be it.
There are some direct songs on here. There is the Don't Go Back to Rockville,
yeah,
which sounds like a song you'd hear in one of these bars in the South.
Sure, that's the sing-along song. I mean, it was kind of meant that way. It's almost a parody, but it's not in a way, because, we do love country music, but, not being country musicians, we come up with something that sounds like, 4 young white guys sitting around playing, a fake country song. That's a real straight narrative. It's, Rockville, by the way, is in Rockville, Maryland. It's not, about rock and roll or anything like that. God forbid. I think once you start writing songs about rock and roll, they make you retire or something. We're not afraid of narrative. As a matter of fact, we stuck it on the record because we just want people to go, what? Well, there go my critical theories. We're right out the window.
What would you like to achieve collectively? I mean, it's easy to say, right, success, but there must be more to it than that.
Sure. I mean, success would be the heading for it, but I think our idea of success is different than most people's. Obviously, we want to sell records, and that's, you know, one of the reasons you signed a major label. But we want to just, the main thing is to get better as a band. And we think that we have the potential to be a really great band. You know, one of the bands that 15 years from now, people will say, gosh, R.E.M, yeah, they were really great. And we're not there yet. You know, we haven't made a record up to our potential yet, I don't think. And our songwriting is getting better. We just want to improve as a band. And, you know, financial success and all that, selling records is probably bound to follow. Maybe not like, you know, the Beatles or like even Duran Duran or anything. But we just feel that if we're a great band and make great records over a series of years, you can't help but have people pick up on it. It takes them a long time. And that's all. We just want to be the best band that's possible for us to be.
Don't go back to Rockville. That's R.E.M. from their second album, Reckoning. Well recommended. Thank you to Peter Buck. It's 12 minutes to 5. In just a moment, I'll be talking to Tim Finn from Split Enz.